India is the planet's most populated country. The South Asian nation surpassed China in 2023 with now over 1.43 billion people. That means that about 1 out of every 6 people on our planet live here. For some comparison, the United States of America only has about 330 million people, and the entirety of Europe only has a population of about 750 million. India is a massive country that is really hard to comprehend for those of us who are not actually living there. But what if I told you there has never been an NBA player from this country? Of the well over 4,000 people who have stepped onto an NBA court, not a single one was from our planet's largest country. But some have come closer than others, and today I want to talk about the man who came closer than any other. Today I wanted to ask the question, what has happened to Satnam Singh's NBA career? Before we dive into this, please do me a huge favor and like the video, as it helps me out a ton here on YouTube, and also subscribe if you want to see me explore more global basketball towns. Now let us get started. Satnam Singh Bamara was born in 1995 in a small town located in Punjab, India. He was introduced to basketball at around 9 years of age when his father installed a hoop above their family's unpaved driveway. Thanks to his family's extreme size, Satnam also was very tall. He was a literal head above his peers on the basketball court. He impressed enough to warrant enrolling in the Ludhiana Basketball Academy at only 10 years of age. This was at the time and still remains to be the premier basketball academy of India, an alternative education path for the country's best young athletes that enables them to prioritize training in order to better enhance their potential in sports. I understand this is almost a completely foreign concept to Americans, but it is rather common in places like Europe and Eastern Asia. Satnam honed his basketball skills while in Ludhiana and continued growing at an unreal rate. By the age of 13, the equivalent of an American 7th grader, he already stood a towering 6 feet 11 inches tall. Thanks in large part to his size, he was named to the Indian U16 national team for the 2009 Asian FIBA tournament. Here he played very sparingly, only averaging a single point per game, but he did manage a tournament high 4 against the eventual champions China. India would go 3-4 in this tournament to finish 10th out of 16 teams. Satnam drew a lot of attention at these games. Everyone wanted to know more about the giant Indian boy. Thanks in large part to this tournament, the United States-based IMG Academy in Florida offered Satnam a full scholarship to move stateside and join their school. This was a deal far too good to pass up. So Satnam, along with 3 other Indian boys and 4 girls, moved halfway around the world to begin life in a whole new country with dreams of a career playing basketball. Satnam could not even speak English upon his arrival. There was a lot of buzz around the teenage giant at this time. Basketball scouts and coaches were pushing him to be India's version of Yao Ming, a comparison that Satnam would hear often for the rest of his life. His gift of size granted him access to resources he would have not otherwise received. It would be an amazing story for someone from such a poor part of the world to overcome the odds and achieve greatness in a sport where Indian-born players are so heavily underrepresented. But on the other hand, it would surely put a lot of money in the pockets of those who discovered and helped him achieve these dreams. Like I said earlier, there are over 1.43 billion people in India. That is potentially a lot of Satnam Singh jersey sales. Whatever the reason was, I am happy Satnam was given the opportunity to move to the US and train with other elite American basketball playing teenagers. It undoubtedly would bring out the best of him on the court and grant him financial opportunities that were not going to be achievable back in Punjab. Whether you consider him a basketball industry plant or not, it doesn't really matter. In 2011, Satnam, at only 15 years old and now standing 7'1", was named to the Indian senior national team as they would compete in the FIBA Asia Championship. Here, India was overwhelmed and quickly sent home, losing 4 straight games. Satnam only played sparingly in garbage time of each contest, finishing with averages of 2 points and 2 rebounds per game. His best performance was in their final loss to Iran, where he managed 6 points. 2 years later, Satnam, now 17 and at his full-grown height of 7'2", would once again be named to the Indian national team as they competed in the 2013 FIBA Asia Championships. Again, Satnam played very sparingly, only managing averages of 4 points, 2 rebounds per game. His best performance came against Kazakhstan, where he totaled 8 points, 4 rebounds, and got his first ever career block shot in FIBA competition. Though his performances each year in these tournaments were undeniably pretty underwhelming, it was important to keep everything in perspective. Satnam was still truly just a boy, getting used to his giant body. Being given the opportunity to train at a high-performance academy in the United States and learn from his senior national team members was all very crucial in his development as a basketball player. He may have not produced a ton on the court, but he was learning a lot during his high school years. A lesser talked about hurdle that Satnam endured during these high school years was his educational woes. Moving to a new country at 14 and being thrusted into their education system, especially when you come from rural India, is extremely difficult. He had a hard time learning English and an even harder time in his classes. He was not able to get his grades up to the standard accepted by NCAA schools, nor was he able to earn US citizenship. Because of this, rather than going to college upon his high school graduation or moving back to India, he opted to stay at IMG Academy for another year of post-grad prep school. This being an optional year of American school for those who, for whatever reason, need another year of high school in order to improve their grades. Satnam would continue playing basketball at IMG's prep team for 2015. During his final season with IMG, Satnam put his averages up to 9 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 blocks per game. He had a hard time staying on the court though, averaging fewer than 20 minutes a contest. This was largely due to his conditioning and foul trouble. Though Satnam had come a very long way since his arrival stateside, he was still a very slow and very landlocked big man. His NBA size was undeniable, and he had a soft touch around the basket and out to the mid-range, but high-level basketball is played at what can feel like a breakneck pace. Satnam had a hard time keeping up with his teammates and opponents up and down the floor. It was at this point, the summer of 2015, where the 19-year-old Satnam Singh became known to not just us basketball nerds, but to the greater basketball-consuming population. Everyone wanted to know more about India's Yao Ming, the 7'2", 290-pound mystery man, who very few had ever actually seen play. Agents lined up for the right to represent him, and NBA teams began investigating. Satnam, though not invited to the draft combine, still worked out for several NBA teams, and he received a lot of praise in these workouts, especially from the Sacramento Kings. Vivek Ranadive, the owner of the Kings franchise, is Indian-born himself. Many theorized if anyone was going to give Satnam a chance, it would be him, although the Kings weren't even drafting in the second round, so they'd have to pick him up after the draft and add him as an undrafted free agent. But to the surprise of everyone watching, with the 52nd overall pick, the Dallas Mavericks selected Satnam Singh, officially making him the first ever Indian-born NBA draft pick. A few weeks later, Satnam donned a Dallas Mavericks Summer League jersey as they played their exhibition games in Las Vegas. Though a draft pick of the franchise, he was unsigned. The Mavericks wanted Satnam's NBA rights, meaning nobody else could offer him a contract, but they did not actually want to bring him aboard their team at this time. Technically, he could play well enough in the Summer League to warrant being given a contract, but nothing like that would happen. In 5 Summer League games, Satnam mostly just played very short minutes, averaging only 7 a game. In these 7 minutes, he put up only 2 points, 2 rebounds a night. He shot 45% from the field and made 3 of 5 free throws throughout the week. As quickly as it started, the summer was over, and the only contract offered to him was a D-League deal. Something not often talked about is how little the D-League, now called the G-League, players bring home. This is the official minor league of the most lucrative basketball association on the planet. Minimum wage for NBA players around this time was about $500,000. Yet in 2016, D-Leaguers only earned around $20,000. That is not much better than a job flipping hamburgers. I don't say this to rip on Satnam or anyone else in the D-League, rather I just wanted to make it clear that this was not the treatment and lifestyle you would think a player selected in the NBA draft would receive. With the Texas Legends, Satnam's role was largely the same as it was in the Summer League. He mostly played garbage time, only averaging 7 minutes a night, and he only appeared in 19 of the possible 50 games. In these games, his averages were a pretty poor 1 point and 1 rebound per game while shooting 43% from the field. It was a season of frustration for the Indian Giant. In interviews later on, Satnam reflected on his first year in Texas very negatively. He yearned for playing time, admitting he did not understand why the coaches would opt to play other guys over him. Satnam had been praised and pushed onto the court his whole life. Being in a position watching from the sideline night in and night out was very difficult for him. In the 2016 Summer League, Satnam was determined to prove his value to the Mavericks organization. Unfortunately though, the summer went worse than last. He only managed to play 5 minutes a game in 6 games. His averages dipped down to just 1 point, 1 rebound a night as well. Due to this lackluster performance, he was again only offered a deal to play another year with the Texas Legends. The 2017 D-League season would be the most frustrating of his career as he was forced to sit night after night, receiving DNP coach's decision after DNP coach's decision. If you want to hear a fun fact about this not so fun season, in December the Texas Legends traveled to Prescott Valley to take on the Northern Arizona Suns, and I was at this game and I got to witness one of the rare moments Satnam actually checked into a game. On this game he caught a pass, got fouled, and made 1 of 2 free throws, in just a little bit short of 2 minutes of garbage time. I actually cheered for him, but there was not a whole lot of cheering going on this year. Satnam only played in 8 games all year long, averaging just 5 minutes per contest, and he only put up 1 point, 1 rebound a night and shot 33% from the field. Despite all of the buzz that surrounded Satnam just 2 years prior, by the summer of 2017, most in the NBA loop had moved on. He was still only 21 years of age though, the same age as many players still playing their college ball with NBA dreams ahead of them. Despite his young age, the Summer League had the potential to be the last one he was going to get with the team that drafted him. Satnam suited up with Dallas for 6 games between Las Vegas and Orlando. During these, unfortunately nothing changed. Satnam only managed 5 minutes a game, putting up just 1 point and half a rebound per contest while shooting a low 42% from the field. When the summer stint came to an end, he took off his Maverick jersey for what would be the last time. Satnam opted not to sign with the Texas Legends for the upcoming pro basketball season. This was likely due to him and his agent being unimpressed with how the organization prioritized his development over the past 2 years. So instead, Satnam turned his focus back to the Indian national team as they geared up for the 2017 FIBA Asia Championship, now known as the FIBA Asia Cup. Unfortunately, this would mark one of the lowest points in Satnam's basketball career. Despite being far and away the most famous player on the Indian national team and the only ever Indian-born player selected in the NBA draft, Satnam was embarrassingly out of shape and rusty for this tournament. India would be blown off the floor by over 40 points in Game 1 against Iran, then lose 2 straight to Jordan and Syria. After only 3 games over 5 days, they were done. Satnam averaged only 8 minutes per game due to his extremely poor conditioning, and he put up an average of 1 point and less than 1 rebound a contest. It was a new low not only for Satnam, but for the Indian national team as a whole. Sure, there were some players who played well, but for their Yao Ming to perform so poorly after everything he had been given was a new level of disappointment. But this would not be how it ends. In January of 2018, after spending the first half of the pro basketball season unemployed, Satnam would sign on to join the United Basketball Alliance, the highest level basketball league in India. Unlike the NBA or most other pro leagues out there, the UBA plays a pretty short season during the summer months. The league was relatively new, so entering their 5th season when Satnam was brought on was going to be a really big deal for them as he was the biggest name player they had ever signed. Unfortunately, after a few weeks of training and preparation for opening day, the league folded. The exact reasons for them folding is not very clear online. If you try to look it up, there's not much out there. Their Instagram page just has a random post 300 plus weeks ago and nothing after that. but I would imagine financial woes being the biggest issue here. After a full year came and went, Satnam was again not offered a spot on the Mavericks Summer League team for 2018. But rather than take another full year off to train and lift weights, Satnam decided to continue his pro career in a whole new country, signing with the St. John's Edge of the National Basketball League of Canada. Satnam was tired of watching his career pass by from the bench. If things were going to progress forward, he needed to be on the hardwood. An additional benefit to joining this league over the D-League was now Satnam could participate in FIBA qualifier games for India. Allow me to go into a little bit of a tangent here. Around this time, FIBA decided to reconstruct its basketball tournament qualification process. Rather than a summer tournament every year, now national teams would play 2 games every few months in a round-robin sort of format to decide who makes it to upcoming major tournaments. I personally hate this format, as these random games take place during the pro season, so the best players are now incapable of representing their national teams. Plus, how on earth are you supposed to build rhythm and team chemistry playing just 2 games every 3 months? It's a pretty stupid format, but we can have a bigger conversation on that topic another day. For Satnam in India, this was viewed at the time as potentially a major opportunity for them to actually build chemistry and take advantage of their opponents' weakened rosters, as their best players were playing professionally elsewhere. Now, with the St. John's Edge in the NBL Canada, Satnam again barely could get on the court. The pro game, even at this low level, was simply still far too fast. He played in 38 games, but he only averaged 5 minutes a night, scoring 2 points and 1 rebound a game, shooting 54% from the field. And embarrassingly, the advantage India thought they were receiving by having Satnam available for their qualifier games did not materialize. India would go 0-6 in their pool, losing every single game they played to Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. Satnam was definitely more productive than ever before, averaging career bests of 14 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists per game, while shooting 48% from 2. But it was simply nowhere near enough. During the summer of 2019, Satnam had his draft rights traded to the Memphis Grizzlies, who elected not to invite him to that year's summer league. From this point on, Satnam's basketball career was at a standstill. The Grizzlies had no interest in giving him a spot on their G League team. No foreign league needed a slow, landlocked center, and pro basketball in India fell apart right before he could give it a try. We would not hear much from Satnam for the next year and a half. After spending a significant amount of time off a basketball court, Satnam was looking to get back into it. He would join the Indian national team as they began training camp for the South Asian Games, these being an inconsistently held tournament between India and its 4 neighbors of Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. A far cry from the previous tournaments he had appeared in at such a young age, but a starting point to get back into his basketball career. However, Satnam's training, while away, involved the use of illegal performance-enhancing drugs, and as a result, he failed a doping test prior to the start of the game. Because of this, he was given a 2-year ban from international competition. Sitting at home during early 2020, the global pandemic hit, and basketball shut down worldwide. As everyone sat at home switching back and forth between reruns of TV shows and the ever-depressing news cycle, one sport came back when nobody else would. This being WWE wrestling, an entertainment industry that inspires their performances based around hand-to-hand combat. It was for a while the only sport people could all enjoy live, and it must have triggered something in Satnam. Sure, back in 2017, he did have an under-the-radar workout with the WWE Training Center during the off-season, but it was nothing more than something fun to do and a bit of a publicity stunt. Now, though, a new opportunity awaited him. In September of 2021, Satnam signed on to join the AEW, a competitor of the WWE, and he made his debut a few months later in April of 2022. He has been an infrequently used fighter ever since. And that brings us to today. Whenever asked about it nowadays, Satnam is quick to say that his basketball career is behind him and he has no intentions of making a return. Though this may be a disappointing thing to hear, the reality is Satnam is now 28 years old. His playing career never progressed beyond potential, and at this point, it is a thing of the past. India basketball unfortunately never got off the ground with Satnam, but they are slowly getting better. I feel bad for Satnam having to deal with the stress of being his country's Yao Ming, but at the same time, we should not be too sorry for him, as he is now in a position that he would not have otherwise gotten the opportunity to be in. There's a lot of people out there who yearn for a career as a professional wrestler, and Satnam is living it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video all the way to the end. Let me know down below your thoughts on the career of Satnam Singh, and also let me know of some other players you want me to look into. I appreciate your support, and I hope you look forward to more basketball content from me. Please comment, like, and subscribe. I will see you all next time.